distinguished members of Congress, honored guests, and my fellow Americans. The United States is unquestionably #1 in the industrialized world. #1 in our use of the world's resources. #1 in the production of pollution. #1 in the gap between the rich and the poor. #1 in deaths by gunfire. #1 in teen pregnancy. #1 in poverty among the elderly. #1 in citizens without health coverage. #1 in child poverty. #1 in homeless veterans, and #1 in citizens behind bars. We are the world's #1 debtor nation. #1 in the creation of new billionaires. #1 in school dropouts. #1 in poverty, homelessness, hunger, divorce, suicide, and oh yes, #1 in military force, nuclear weapons, and military spending, as much as all the other nations on the earth combined. We also lead the world in the number of hours worked per family, since it now takes 2 wage earners and 3 jobs to bring in the same income you could get with one 40-hour-a-week job in the 1950s. In spite of soaring productivity, real wages in this country today are 1/3 of what they were in the 1950s. If it wasn't for corporate control of our government and the resulting trickle-down economics, ordinary workers could support their families today with 1 job, working 2 days a week. We would all have 5-day weekends every week. Now, if worker pay had kept up with executive pay, the average worker in this country would be making $1 million a year. And the minimum wage would be $171 an hour. What do you call a country in which the gap between the rich and the poor grows beyond bounds? Where leading exports are scrap metal and wood pulp, where leading imports are manufactured goods, and the fastest growing industry is the construction and operation of private prisons. You could call it a third world country. That is the state of the union we have inherited. In our government's drive to protect the far-flung financial interests of multinational corporations, we have abandoned our principles and fought wars of aggression against small countries. We have overthrown popularly elected leaders and installed puppet dictators who sell out their own people to our corporations. In our drive toward a corporate New World Order, we have sold out our workers, our families, our environment, our children's futures, and the American dream. This, too, is the State of the Union we have inherited. Now, we've had the opportunity to create a land without want. What went wrong? Why are our workers paid such a tiny percentage of their true worth? Why are we the only major nation without a national health program? Why are our high school graduates 2 years behind their counterparts in other countries? Why are we hated by so many around the world? Why do we have hundreds of thousands of troops patrolling foreign lands and supporting foreign dictators? What's going on? Well, the answer, I'm afraid, is that we have lost our republic. Legislators no longer represent the people who elect them, but the corporations who finance them. They answer not to their constituents, but to the lobbyists who line their pockets and fill their campaign coffers. For years now, through both major political parties, the world's billionaires have directed U.S. policy for their own personal profit. This has included agreements like NAFTA, CAFTA, and the World Trade Organization, falsely portrayed as supporting free trade, but in reality promoting free investment, overturning U.S. laws, and putting American workers in competition with those in the third world. NAFTA has destroyed the standard of living and the quality of life on both sides of the Rio Grande. And by driving Mexican farmers off the land, has been largely responsible for the influx of illegal immigrants into this country. Corporate control of our government has also resulted in a series of wars, from Iraq to Bosnia to Kosovo to Afghanistan to Iraq again. Wars which are never in the interest of those fighting them, or of the families left behind. Wars which only serve the insatiable greed of the global investor class. Corporate power over our political system, over the media, and over most aspects of our lives is the greatest danger we face today. Those of us who dedicate our lives to peace, economic justice, and environmental preservation can make little progress in our struggles, so long as ultimate power is in the hands of those who profit from war, poverty, and... I didn't get here tonight by taking corporate millions. I didn't get here by selling myself to the oil companies, the pharmaceutical companies, the insurance companies. To be quite honest, I'm not quite sure how I got here. But here I am, and as long as I am President of the United States, this government will serve the needs of the people, not the greeds of the wealthy elite. Turning things around won't be easy. What our Constitution empowers me to change, I shall. But for much of what needs doing, I will need the cooperation of you in Congress, and I ask for it tonight. See, the Constitution does not make me the decider, only the proposer and the implementer. You, the people's representatives, are the deciders. I am therefore vacating all the over 800 signing statements imposed by my predecessor. I'm revoking Presidential Directives 20 and 51, which give me dictatorial powers. Yeah. But I warn you, members of Congress, if you continue to violate your constitutional responsibility to serve your constituents, and instead serve only yourselves and the big money interests you are indebted to, if you continue to ignore the Constitution and attempt to protect the crooked, corporate-dominated status quo, I will go over your heads to the American people and ask them to retire all of you, regardless of party. We must sever the connection between big money and political power. This means electoral reform and media reform. But the latter can be done now. I have ordered the Federal Communications Commission to reinstate the Fairness Doctrine and equal time rules. Also to re-implement the ban on multiple ownership. A free press is incompatible with corporate monopoly domination of the media. The elimination of burdensome petition requirements for qualifying third-party and independent candidates, making Election Day a federal holiday so working people can actually vote. And of course, true campaign finance reform. We're a long way from that now. Once we succeed in separating big money and political power, everything becomes possible. In this richest of nations, we can and we will guarantee every American access to a good education, a decent job at a living wage, health care, and the undiluted protections of the Constitution and Bill of Rights. Now on health care. As a conservative, I believe that the only fiscally responsible way to provide universal health care is to kick the insurance companies out of health care companies. This eliminates their overhead, their profit, which accounts for about half of every health care dollar, their bean counting, and their interference between doctor and patient. Now, I therefore propose a doctor-run, single-payer national health program. As a step toward the living wage, I propose that the minimum wage be indexed for inflation.